Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the RacingBet Preview, coming to you live. Me from WA, Trent from Melbourne, ahead of another big weekend of Group 1 racing. Caulfield and Randwick this weekend, Caulfield Guineas Day in Melbourne and Spring Champion Stakes Day at Randwick. Trent, welcome to the show. Looking forward to another good weekend of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to everyone joining us live. Yeah, it's a huge day, Caulfield Guineas Day. 3 Group 1s. The Caulfield Guineas is a cracker. We get another clash of Animo v Artorias. Zaki, of course, in the newly named Might and Power Stakes, formerly the Caulfield Stakes, of course. So glad to see a horse of his caliber being honoured there. But yeah, it should be a great day.
Yeah, and this episode, as you can see, is brought to you by Tab, of course, sponsoring our show throughout the course of the Spring Carnival. And it's good to have their support ahead of what I said is another big day. 4 Group 1s on the day, 3 in Melbourne, 1 in Sydney, Caulfield Guineas Day. We've got, of course, the Guineas. We've got the Toorak Handicap, the Might and Power Stakes, and then the Spring Champion Stakes over at Randwick. Now, I was just looking at the forecast, Trent, for Caulfield and Randwick as well. Caulfield looks like you got a little bit of rain coming, 1 to 4 millimetres. Currently, the track's rated a soft 5 with the rail true. Any thoughts on how or if there will be a pattern emerge throughout the day?
Yeah, I think we'll probably end up on a good 4. They'd probably end up putting that much water on during the week anyway. So confident we end up on a good 4. Rail true at Caulfield. Generally not too bad. They can, in the bigger fields, get right out to the wide lanes if the tempo is there. But otherwise, generally don't want to be too far back at Caulfield as a rule. But yeah, not too worried about the track pattern at this time.
Yeah, and interesting to see how Randwick plays as fine and 27 degrees on Saturday in Sydney. So expected a pretty firm deck. Of course, we'll probably start a good 4, but probably be pretty firm. The rail is out 5 from the 1600 to the winning post and 4 metres for the remainder. So hopefully we get a fair deck with the rail out 5. But yeah, I wouldn't be wanting to get too far back from what we've seen lately in Sydney. We'll take you through our best value bets first today. We're going to kind of switch them around because Trent's best bet does come up in one of the Group 1s. So we'll save that till later on. We'll kick off with our best value bets at both Caulfield and Randwick. We'll then get into our best bets, which kind of coincide with the 4 Group 1s. So plenty to get through on this week's show. And if you do have any thoughts or any questions throughout the broadcast, make sure you post your questions. We're streaming live on Twitter, Facebook, and our YouTube channel. So if you do have any questions, make sure you fire them in and we'll try and get them up on screen and answer them as we go. As always, your interaction is appreciated. All right, I'll kick off this weekend with my best value bet of the day in Sydney, which is going to come up late in the program. This is race number 9, and I'm with horse number 8, Tricky Gal. I think it's race number 9. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Probably should have had this prepared. Race 9, yep, we're looking at the Group 3, the Nivison. Yep, and I'm right. Race 9, number 8, Tricky Gal. She's currently a $20 chance with the TAB, and I thought she was over the odds. If you look at this horse's first up record, I know she hasn't won in a long time. Her last victory was September 2020, so over a year ago now. But if you look at her first up record, she's had 4 starts for 3 wins and a second placing. I'll try and fire off her replay here. This was her first up last preparation, finishing second to a horse called Taylor, who goes pretty good. I thought she was in this race up to her ears at $20. There's a lot of horses here that are kind of a little bit suspect. Sweet Deal, you'd think she'd be suited back to Group 3 level. She's a Group 1 horse, no doubt about that. But the likes of Seasons, even Madam Legend back onto what's going to be a rock-hard track is some sort of a query. Minaj resuming for John O'Shea. Ethery, she's got a poor second-up record, 4 starts for no wins. So I thought with that first up record for Tricky Gal, she's always around the mark. She can overcome that wide barrier 14 with Alicia Collett on board. I thought she'd be right in this. Potentially better suited on a wet track, but look, her form on good ground is good enough, I thought. And at those sorts of odds, I'm happy to play her $20 of the TAB, race 9, number 8, Tricky Gal. Trent, any thoughts before I hand over to you?
Nope, I think that covers it. Those mares races are the lottery, so pick one of the odds you like, and like you said, first up record's good, so a decent chance.
Yeah, and I think I backed her first up in that race last preparation against Taylor, and I think I backed both of them in the end because she went around double figure odds on that occasion as well. I think Taylor, after scratchings, ended up starting odds on, but She ran right. She sat 3 wide the trip in that race as well, and still managed to run second to Taylor. So I thought that was a good form reference, and looks suited. Just needs to overcome the wide draw. All right, I'll pass over to you because you, as you tend to do with your best value bets, you can find one at odds here. And you're going to play 2 horses at Caulfield in race number 4. They are horse number 11, Spinning, $26, and horse number 14, Forever and a Day, $126 with the tab. So take us through your thoughts there.
Yeah, so I'll start with Spinning. I thought she was, a big price here. She resumed first up. They went to Horsham for an easy maiden kill. Started $1.30 there, got the job done. It was a bit tradesman-like, that win. The second horse on debut got quite close to her. They put a space on third. That second horse has since come out and won its maiden, so potentially not a bad maiden to come out of there. But you go back to Spinning's first prep, and she ran 2 really good races. See, on debut, she got within a nose of Gimme Par, who's since run very well in the Danehill and is going to the Coolmore. So I think that form stacks up. And then she ran third to Generation and Lena's Legend, and we've seen that form stack up quite well again throughout the spring. So I thought she was a big price here, considering what she did last prep. She draws wide. She's going to go back, but the tempo does look above average. I think it'll be genuine tempo. And I just think off that earlier form last prep, she definitely shouldn't be the price that she is. So happy to have something on Spinning. Forever and a Day, $100, $126. I don't love the race that she came out of, but she started $3 there first up, over 1,000 meters down the straight. I don't think she's a 1,000-meter horse. She ran over 1,200 meters on debut and won, beating a filly called Heresy. We've seen Heresy come out and run very well against the boys in the likes of the McNeil Stakes around, just behind the likes of Artorias, Mr. Mozart. So that form stacks up well. I don't think she was suited at 1,000 meters first up. Started $3 there to a New York Baby, who's also in this race, started $3.20. New York Baby won that race and is $6 here. And Forever and a Day is $126, better suited stepping up to 1,200 meters, which just seems a huge discrepancy for me. So, look, I don't love the race that she's coming out of. I think she'd have to find a couple of lengths, but I think at $126, she's just a silly price and should be a fair bit shorter. So, something each way on both Spinning and Forever and a Day is a bit of a speculative plays there.
Okay, race 4, number 11 and number 14, the 2 you're looking for Trent's best value bet of the day at Caulfield. Move on to our best bets, and I'll go first. Managed to get Think It over the line just last week. But he did look the class horse in the race, and I'm tipping another one under similar kind of circumstances here. This is race 4, number 2, Coast Watch I'm referring to. Of course, he ran third in the Group 1 Golden Rose. He now drops back to a Group 2 Stan Fox Stakes. And I just think he looks awfully well suited here. I'll put up his replay. This was him winning the Ming Dynasty at Kembla Grange 2 starts ago. As I said, following this victory, which was pretty cozy in the end, he went to the Group 1 Golden Rose. Did get a good run throughout, barrier 2 on a day that did favour those up on speed and on the rails. Of course, we saw in the Congo lead throughout to win the Golden Rose, but I thought his effort in third was very good. And like I said, that kind of form, in the Congo, they're speaking about it lining up in an Everest. And Animo, of course, is a favourite for the Group 1 Caulfield Guineas this weekend. So good form reference. That was a high-pressure race, and I don't think he'll have any troubles over the 1,500 metres in the Stan Fox here. So we're getting $1.95 with TAB. I think that's an acceptable price. Like I said, I just think he's the best horse in the race. And there are a few suspects that he lines up against here, the likes of Halal. I thought his biggest danger was probably, I don't know how to say this, Kota Healy for O'Shea and Bowman, coming off a dominant win first up at Goulburn, but it was a benchmark 64 at Goulburn. You put Coastwatch in a benchmark 64, he'd win by that much as well. So, just tipping is the best horse in the race here. J-Mac on for Walla, well drawn, and I think he'll prove too good. So best bet at Randwick, race 4, number 2, Coastwatch, $1.95 with the TAB. Trent, your best bet of the day, should I say, at Caulfield is in one of the Group 1s, and this is the Toorak Handicap. You're pretty keen on number 11, I'm Thunderstruck, who, of course, was desperately unlucky in the Group 1 Sir Rupert Clarke Stakes at his last start. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, he was. It He was kind of 7 weeks between runs there at the Rupert Clark. Drew barrier 16 of 16. You see him just at the top of the straight here, and John McNeil tries to go for a gap there, and Poland just lays out badly, and he gets sandwiched at the top of the straight. Runs on really strongly for third, beaten about half a length by Sierra Sue and Dice Roll. Key here is that he meets them both better at the weights. He stays down on the minimum at 52. So he meets Dice Roll 1.5 kilos better, Sierra Sue 3.5 kilos better. Draws better, I would say, in barrier 4. I probably would have preferred him to draw a little bit further out, but he does have a bit of early speed, so I don't think he was going to be last and buried. I think he'll be just off midfield, and look, he just looks a real setup horse here. 1,600 metres, no problem at all. And it was key to note also the market support for him in that race in the Rupert Clark. He opened up $8.50 and he was backed off the map. He started $4.20 favourite against the likes of Probable Behemoth. So,
well, he should have won. Let's be real. He should have won.
Yeah, he probably should have won. I don't really know why McNeil tried to cut that last corner. He probably should have just hooked to the outside and let him build momentum. So, look, barrier 4 here. If he gets any kind of luck this time around, I think he's going to be very hard to beat. And I wouldn't be surprised if he starts a little bit shorter just based off his market support last start as well. The market seems to really love this horse. Okay,
any others to make mention of in the Toorak?
I think Dice Roll is probably the danger again. Still gets in quite well at the weights and probably has a... he'll probably settle further forward than Thunderstruck. So he's probably the danger for mine, but going off their last starts, I think Thunderstruck's clearly the horse to beat.
Okay, we'll move on to the next Group 1. We'll get to the Caulfield Guineas in a little bit, but we'll move on to the Might and Power Stakes, where we see Zaki line up $1.24. I think he was last time I checked with Tab. Better than bank interest?
Yeah, look, probably. He should be just winning again.
Yeah, what did you make of his win in the Underwood? Because there was a bit of commentary, a lot of people thinking he should have been more dominant, but really, like, he didn't get out of second gear, did he?
He didn't. No, it was quite soft. I think also as well that it wasn't a super fast tempo there. He just kind of did what he had to. Still put 2 lengths on a couple of pretty good horses. I think he's going to get a faster tempo here. He's got Homesman and No Effort who like to roll along, and I think that's just going to bring out a better horse. We saw up in Queensland off good speeds, he was just dominant. So he'll be winning again. Probably can run second again, and Nonconformist and Homesman probably run third and fourth. Yeah, that looks the race, really.
All right, well, we'll leave that one there, and we'll get on to the main race of the day. Of course, this is the Group 1 Caulfield Guineas. Is this a 2-horse race between Animo and Artorias, Trent?
Yes, it is a 2-horse race between Animo and Artorias. Both come out of the Golden Rose. We'll see that replay just come up in a sec here. Like you said before, the day at Rose Hill, it was definitely an advantage to be on speed and more so closer to the rail. In the Congo, went out at a good tempo. Animo, you can see there in the Godolphin Blue, gets home very well, gets into second, and Artorias out very wide and flies home for fourth as well. On a fairer track, I would probably say Animo would have won. Artorias probably would have run second or third. I think the key here, Animo as well was only second up into that Golden Rose and at a higher tempo as well. So I think he probably has more fitness to come. Third up, he's always looked like a horse that's going to appreciate getting out to 1,600 metres. The grand final here of the Caulfield Guineas. Obviously, the barrier draw has been spoken about quite a bit. Barrier 15 is not ideal.
Well, let's speak about it, because one winner in the past 15 years in the Caulfield Guineas has started from a double-digit barrier, and that was press statement back in, I think, 2015. That must fill you with some concern. And there was word about James Cummings saying potentially they look to go forward on Animo.
Yeah, so he did say that. And I think that's actually a good idea. I don't want him going back to last. I think they're better off rolling the dice, and almost if he gets stuck 3 wide, no cover, at least he's close enough to win, like mathematically win. There's not a stack of speed here. So I think if Ollie slots in and he gets cover 1 off the fence, or if he gets even 3 wide with cover, I think this is almost all over here. So look, I think he's got 2 or 3 lengths class on everything but Artorias, and I really don't like the draw for Artorias. Barrier 2, I don't think he's got the early speed to actually hold a position. I've kind of got him mapped basically 4 pairs back the fence. And I think the thing with Artorias as well is that all his best runs have come in very high pressure races. We saw in the Blue Diamond with Enthar going out at a very fast speed. The Golden Rose where he flew home late off that fast speed. I think he's off a more even tempo. He's probably not as effective as Animo, who's got a sharper turn of foot. So Barrier 2, buried back along the inside and really having to pick up and sprint quickly, it screams of a race that's going to be a nightmare if you back Artorias. So I'm happy to lean Animo's way. If he gets any luck slotting in from the barrier, I think he'll just win. And I can't really see anything outside the top two in the market bobbing up and beating him, to be honest.
Yeah, so Animo currently sitting at $2.70 with the tab market, as you can see on screen. Artorias $3.90, and double figures the rest, really. You know, it's interesting you say Barrier 2 is not a good draw for him, but like I'm somewhat of the other opinion. Like I just said, you know, there's only been one winner in the past 15 years from double figures. What's to say if he draws Barrier 13 that he's any better suited than he is in Barrier 2? D-Lane, Barrier 2, $2 million Group 1. Surely he gets this horse into the race.
I just don't know if he has the speed, though. You see every start, he's slowly away. You know, at best, he's probably 3 pairs back, I would have thought. And it's just going to be so tricky from there. And, you know, at the end of the day, I do think Animo is a better horse than Artorias, and I think he's got more improvement to come, only being third up. So, look, like if Artorias gets a good ride, gets out of the gates and manages to settle midfield and gets the luck when required, he's probably going to win. But I just don't think that it's a safe percentage play. And I'd rather a horse sit wide and at least have momentum when I know that they're the best horse in the race, rather than having to try and get out of the way a couple of 50-1 roadblocks. Yeah,
see, like the other thing about him having no speed is you may well be right. He might just be so sluggish out of the gates that he can't settle any further forward. But I kind of look at it like, first up, yes, he settled last, nowhere near his grand final. Second up, yep, okay, he settled back in the field from a low draw, not his grand final. Golden Rose drew barrier 11 of 13. And even you look back to last preparation, like when he won at Sandown, drew barrier 10, and when he won the Blue Diamond, he drew barrier 9 of 14. So I just wonder whether this being one of his grand finals, like stallion making race, he has to kind of win a race like this. I know he's a Group 1 winner, but for his CV...
He has already won a Group 1,
Yeah, but for his CV, if he could add a Caulfield Guineas as a 3-year-old, it's going to make him a much more valuable stallion. Exactly. So I think low
But the same can be said for Artorias. For Animo, sorry.
Of course. And that's why they're probably going to try and push forward, I would think. But I just think fourth up, like if he's ever going to show any intent or any ability to settle closer to the speed, I'm not saying he's going to be, box seat from barrier 2, but if they're going to settle all anywhere forward, I think this will be the day. And like I said, Damien Lane, $2 million Group 1, you kind of lean to the best riders in the race. And at the prices, like I would pull the replay up again, but everyone's seen it a million times. The way he finished off in that Golden Rose was just incredible. So at the prices, to be honest, I'd be leaning towards Artorias with $394 available rather than Animo drawn the car park $2.70. And look, you can make a case for both horses, right?
I think as well, you buy this race of the day, race 8. You'll know the track pattern as well, and we saw it a couple of years ago with Super Seth got right out wide on the track in the Caulfield Guineas. If the fence is, if it's advantage to be on speed and closer to the rail, it's going to be very tricky for Animo. But if they are getting off the fences, they can do it Caulfield sometimes, and he's got that 3 wide with cover line, then I just don't see how they'll beat him. But it does depend a little bit on how the track's playing, and I can definitely see the point that if ever Artorias is going to settle closer, this will be it. But I'm just not sure that he will.
Fascinating race, the Caulfield Guineas, race number 8 on the card at Caulfield on the weekend. Send us in your thoughts. Are you with Animo? Are you with Artorias? Or is there something different that we're overlooking? Let us know in the comments and we'll throw it up on the screen. All right, we'll move on to the Spring Champion Stakes in Sydney. Of course, this is the day's only Group 1 at Randwick on the weekend. This also comes up as race number 8 on the card. Group 1 3-year-old, 2,000 metres set weights. A couple of interesting facts about the Spring Champion Stakes. 4 of the last 5 winners of this race have been the winner of the Gloaming or the Flight Stakes leading into it. In 2016, Yankee Rose, she was the first filly to win this race, but 3 of the past 5 winners of the Spring Champion Stakes have now been fillies. So there's a few to discuss here, and I don't necessarily know if it's as cut and dry as Head of State, Profondo, or Never Been Kissed as the winners. We'll pull up the market from tab.com.au so we can see where we're at. So here we are. We've got Head of State currently $3.80. Profondo sits as our favourite, $3.30. Of course, they fought out the Gloaming Stakes leading into this. The Group 1 Flight Stakes winner, Never Been Kissed, down there at $4.80. Here on the quick backup for Gaybot, who are just absolutely airborne. And then the only other one in single figures is Allegron for the Godolphin team. But there are a couple that I could see running a race here, those being Benno, $10 for Hugh Bowman and John O'Shea, and even French Emperor, $23. I'll touch on him in a second. Where do we start here? Let's start with the Gloaming, I suppose. That'd be the sensible way to go. And this is, as I said, Head of State and Profondo fighting out the Gloaming Stakes. Profondo just loomed into this like the winner. You see Robbie Dolan cut the ribbons, but quickly Head of State was right up to him here with James McDonald for Chris Waller on the outside. Robbie Dolan, he gave him one with the left hand and he ducked straight back towards the rail there, as you can see. And probably the more professional horse on the day one, Trent.
Yeah, absolutely. Profondo only had his second start there, the $1 million colt. So, yeah. Would you say he threw the race away? If he goes straight, does he win that?
I don't know if he wins. I think it'd be very close. Look, he definitely, I wouldn't say he threw the race away. He definitely cost himself winning the race by ducking back towards the rail. But there's every chance that Head of State beats him, even if he does go straight. Look, I wouldn't have Profondo favourite here ahead of Head of State. I know that Profondo is only having his third career start, gets up to 2,000 metres, should improve with race experience. Like we just said, basically cost himself the Gloaming last start. But I still think Head of State, drawn inside him here, Barrier 9, Chris Waller, James McDonald, that's the combo I'd be looking at ahead of Richard Litt and Robbie Dolan, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think Head of State should be favourite. Richard Litt did win this race a couple of years ago with Castelvecchio, I think, so can set one for it. But you don't want to be doing so many things wrong in a Group 1. Like, yes, you could say, okay, he's going to improve with more race experience, but if he doesn't and he's still doing things wrong, it's not what you want to be doing as a favourite in a Group 1.
And if I just run this replay back, you can see the grey horse here for Hugh Bowman in the blue colours, middle of screen, just getting into the clear. I thought he finished off relatively well for a horse only having his second start as well. Didn't get much luck at this point of the race, but he kind of got sandwiched. But I thought he finished off well. Whether he can turn the tables on the front two remains to be seen, and that's the obvious query. But both of Allegron and Benno finished the race off relatively well, and I wouldn't completely discount them out of the race. But one horse out of the Gloaming, who I do think is probably over the odds here, and I'll just preface this by saying David Payne's won this race twice in the last 4 years. And he lines up French Emperor here, takes the blinkers off. And I was actually keen on, I wasn't keen on him. I didn't bet in the race, but I actually had him on top in the Gloaming Stakes, French Emperor. And he couldn't have been more awful, basically. He got a perfect run in midfield. He was a little bit slow out of the gates, but he got a decent enough run in midfield. But he offered absolutely nothing. Went backwards, was beaten 8.5 lengths. Finished second last. But maybe he just over-raced the touch with the blinkers on. They've taken the blinkers off here. And given he was, on that occasion, he was $6 into $5 to win that Gloaming Stakes. He's now $23. And like I say, David Payne certainly knows how to win this race in recent years. So if you are looking for a roughie, I could tip you into number 5, French Emperor. If you backed him last start in the Gloaming, you probably have to butter up again here with, 4 times the price on offer. Let's talk about the filly, Never Been Kissed, Gay Waterhouse, Adrian Bott, Regan Bayliss. This is the first of Bayliss's Group 1s on the day. You can see her just chiming in about 3 out here. This was her third career win from 4 starts. This was at $40 and they now butter her up a week later on the quick backup. We saw this same stable back up on Taunt. Sorry to touch a nerve here, Trent, but we saw them back up on Taunt 3 weeks in a row. He narrowly went down in last weekend's Group 1 Metropolitan. So certainly they do know how to back these horses up for grand finals or for Group 1s and get the best out of them. I thought she was at a backable price here. You've got to probably take on one of the boys if you're going to back her, of course. But at $4.80, you could definitely back something like Head of State at $3.80 and Never Been Kissed at $4.80. What do you reckon?
Oh, I thought it was weaker form, the flight, to be honest. It wasn't. It was a decent tempo, and she obviously won quite nicely. But straight up to the 2,000 meters, I think the boys will be stronger late. Obviously, it's hard to doubt the stable, especially when they put them on the backup. But I thought you could potentially go around her. I was definitely Head of State on top, and agree with what you said about French Emperor as well. I thought he was potentially the overs.
Yeah, and to be honest, how long have we been saying on this show that the fillies form is just absolutely rubbish and that they just take it in turns winning? So
I will say though, that flight stakes, I think the winner of the 1,000 Guineas is going to come out of it. The second horse, also for Gaybot, Hinged, is going to come down next Wednesday for the 1,000 Guineas. I reckon she'll be winning. There's the early tip.
Waller runner Hinged, isn't it? Yeah, Chris Waller.
Is it? Oh,
yeah.
That's fine too. He goes all right.
Yeah. Knows a thing or two about training racehorses. 9 career starts, 5 wins and 3 second placings. Finished off hard along that rail. So there you go. Early tip Hinged in the 1,000 Guineas, did you say?
Yeah, it's on the Wednesday next week. So yeah, there we go, Hinged.
Beautiful. Yeah, so betting perspective for this Spring Champion Stakes, I'd be with Head of State on top. I potentially would look to stave on Never Been Kissed. I probably won't get much out of it. And I probably just have to have something on French Emperor at the ridiculous odds there. But yeah, fascinating one. We'll see what happens. Yeah, Profundo, $3.30 favourite. I think we'll see a market reversal by the time the race comes around. I don't think he'll be starting favourite. All right, Trent, Supercoach Racing. First week was last week. Where did we end up at? I'll tell you. I didn't get my team in on time. I had that much to do between recording on Thursday and it closing at 9:30 my time on Saturday morning. And I went to enter my stable and it locked me out. So I'm off to an absolute flyer.
Yeah, so we ended up with 138 entries. I can pop it up here for you, which is really good to see that many people join. Got the screen up here. So 138 people. Overall, the league went well, 355. Top score went to Beaky Bullet, Nick, who had an outstanding team. Nailed the winner of all the Group 1s. I think he had Montefilia and Entente, Private Eye, Incentivized Captain, Elusive Express down the bottom, came 4th overall. So he's made me look silly. I had Ingratiating, who went like an absolute bastard, and it's going to be a struggle back. But yeah, look, it's been a bit of fun early. This week looks a little bit simple. We got Zaki, who should be winning. So get your teams in and keep following along. Can
people still join the league?
I think so. Yeah. So the league code is 815903. I think you can still join. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, if you can still join, definitely do get involved.
Okay, Supercoach Racing League there. I've put it up on screen for you, that league code, 815903. Yep. Oh, so there's hope for me still that I can enter a team and hopefully avoid lockout for 2 weeks in a row. 815903 if you are wanting to join the Supercoach Racing League for the RacingBet team. 138 people, Trent. It's a pretty decent turnout. All right, any other thoughts on the weekend? Well, we're back at Ascot for opening day on Saturday. I feel like a kid on Christmas here in Western Australia, and I think most punters would be. Belmont was very tired. Now we've had a couple of Northern meetings, a couple of Geraldton meetings, a couple of Kalgoorlie meetings, and finally we're back to HQ, Ascot, for the Summer Racing Carnival, and it is an absolutely belting day of racing here in WA. The 3-year-old classic, I tweeted on Wednesday when the fields came out, or Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever it was. You'll struggle to see a better race than that for the rest of the carnival, I reckon. That 3-year-old race at Ascot on Saturday is an absolute cracker. We've also got the 2-year-old races, and just every race on the card is just super competitive. Can't wait to get back to Ascot. Thank the Lord we're back. But yeah, any other final thoughts, Trent, before we sign off for another week?
I think that just about covers us. Huge day. And then we got 1,000 Guineas next week and the Caulfield Cup the week after that. So it's all happening in Spring Carnival here at RacingBet.
Never stops. All right, you can check out our race-by-race previews for Randwick and Caulfield on racingbet.com.au. We'll have some bets up for Ascot as well on Saturday, and then round out the weekend with Hong Kong and a few bets from Australia on Sunday as well. Thanks to the Tab for sponsoring this week's episode and continuing their support throughout the Spring Carnival. And thanks for your company if you're joined in live, or even if you're catching up on the replay whenever you do catch up on this. So we appreciate your support. We appreciate you tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us again next week.